Hello and welcome. Come, find a comfortable place, perhaps near the warmth of a hearth where the embers are dying down, or in a quiet room where the only sound is the hum of the night. Settle in, close your eyes, let the tension of the mundane world unravel. Tonight, we are going to walk the shadowed streets of the Sword Coast. We are going to peel back the layers of a deception so vast it fooled gods and monsters alike. We are here to discuss the secrets of Baldur's Gate 3. We begin our journey not at the end, but at the very moment the nightmare breached the sky. Imagine the silence of a sunny day in Yarder, shattered by a sound that isn't quite sound. A psychic scream that bleeds from the clouds. A nautiloid, a ship of tentacles and greased biomechanical flesh, tears through the dimensions. It is here that the seed of our story is planted. A tadpole, a gake larva, a creature no larger than your pinky finger, wriggling behind your eye. In the established lore of Dungeons and Dragons, specifically the Volo's Guide to Monsters, the reproductive cycle of the Mind Flayer is absolute. It is a process called seromorphosis. The tadpole consumes the gray matter of the host, fuses with the brain stem, and triggers a rapid mutation. The skin turns to mauve rubber, the jaw splits into tentacles. The soul of the host is severed, cast into the fugue plane, and a new Illithid is born. It is a process that typically takes days, sometimes hours. It is biological. It is inevitable, but in the events we are examining, the inevitable has been paused. You possess the parasite, yet the fever does not break you. The transformation does not come. Instead, you hear a voice. It is not the alien, buzzing hive mind of a standard colony. It is a voice of authority, a voice of terrifying calm, the voice of the Absolute. Let us dissect this entity, the Absolute. To the common folk of Faerun, to the goblins in the blighted village, and the refugees on the road, the Absolute presents itself as a new divinity. It offers a seductive promise: unity, one flesh, one mind, one purpose. If you listen to the fervent prayers of the cultists in the shattered sanctum, you realize this is not merely a gathering of monsters. It is a spiritual movement. It mimics the structure of a benevolent religion, offering purpose to the lost and power to the weak. However, we must look at the true souls. These are the lieutenants of the cult, branded with a magical mark that glows with a mixture of shadow and psionic energy. Every true soul believes they have been blessed by a goddess. In reality, they are infected. They carry the tadpole. They believe their power to command others, the authority, is a divine gift. This is the first layer of the secret reveal. The Absolute is a masterclass in rebranding. The architects of this plot have taken the most feared creature in the Underdark, the Mind Flayer, and dressed it in the robes of salvation. Usually, an infection is a death sentence that alienates the victim from society. By framing the infection as a blessing, the cult has created an army of willing hosts. They have weaponized the fear of the Gake by claiming to be the cure. But who or what is the Absolute? Throughout the early hours of your journey, you encounter the dream visitor. This figure, whom you design, comes to you when you sleep. They claim to be a survivor like you. They claim to be using their own magic to hold back the transformation. They urge you to use the powers of the tadpole. Embrace your potential, they whisper. This creates a fascinating narrative dissonance. The cult tells you to serve the absolute. The entity in your head tells you to destroy the cult, but use the cult's weapon. We now know, through deep investigation of the game's internal files and the revelations in Act 2, that the absolute is an elder brain, but it is not a normal elder brain. A standard elder brain is the center of an illithid colony, a creature of pure logic and domination that seeks to eat brains and propagate its species. The absolute is an elder brain that has been shackled. It is bound by magic that feels ancient, metallic, and distinctly Netherese. When the goblin priestess Gut or the drow Minthara speak of hearing the absolute, they are technically hearing the telepathic broadcast of this elder brain. However, the signal is being filtered. It is being translated. The brain thinks in concepts of domination and thrall. The magic binding it translates these concepts into words like faith and acolyte. It is a translation error weaponized on a continental scale. One of the most chilling pieces of lore evidence can be found in the Moonrise Towers. There are pamphlets and books describing the grand design. In traditional illithid lore, the grand design is the goal to restore the infinite empire of the Mind Flayers, to darken the sun and enslave all realities. The cult of the Absolute uses the same terminology, grand design, but reinterprets it as a world of perfect order where no one has to be alone. They are using the victims to build their own prison. We must also examine the prism. The artifact you carry, the astral prism, is the anomaly in this perfect system. It is a dodecahedron of shifting metal, vibrating with a specific frequency of resistance. The Absolute fears this prism. The cult calls it the weapon. Why? Because within the radius of the prism, the voice of the Absolute is silenced. The command to transform is nullified. This is why you, the protagonist, retain your free will. You are standing in the eye of a psionic hurricane. The true souls you fight do not have this protection. When you kill them, notice how the tadpole emerges from their skull. It is often described as being in stasis, wrapped in shadow magic. This is a critical detail. These tadpoles are not just biology, they are necromancy. They have been modified to pause the seramorphosis indefinitely. Why pause it? Because a mind flayer is a monster that is attacked on sight. A Duke of Baldur's Gate who is secretly infected, however, can walk into a council meeting. He can sign laws. He can open gates. The secrecy is the true weapon. As we peel back this first layer, we see the facade clearly. The Absolute is a play. It is a theater performance directed by unseen hands, starring an enslaved cosmic horror, and performed for an audience of victims who think they have found God. But if the Absolute is a puppet, who is pulling the strings? Who has the power to bind an elder brain? To answer this, we must leave the realm of aliens and look to the history of the gods. We must look at 3 specific deities who refused to stay dead. We must look into the shadows of the dead 3. Let the image of the floating brain fade for a moment. Let the psychic static settle into the background. We must now turn our gaze backward, deep into the fossilized history of the realms, to understand the architects of this nightmare. To understand the puppet, one must understand the hands that hold the strings. In this case, there are 3 hands, 3 distinct, withered, ironclad hands that have gripped the throat of Faerun for centuries. We speak of the dead 3, Bane, Baal, and Miakal. In the modern era of the Sword Coast, younger adventurers might mistake these names for mere myths, or perhaps minor cult deities worshipped in damp basements. But to understand the gravity of the threat facing Baldur's Gate, we must appreciate who these beings were, and more importantly, what they have become. They are not merely gods, they are usurpers. They are mortals who won the lottery of divinity and have spent every moment since trying to cheat the house. History tells us of a time long ago when the portfolios of strife, death, and the dead belonged to a single entity, Jurgal. He was the lord of the end of everything. He sat upon his throne in the grey waste, recording the demise of all things, bored by the sheer inevitability of it all. Then came 3 mortal adventurers, Bane the tyrant, Baal the assassin, and Miakal the necromancer. They were driven by a lust for power that transcended mortality. They marched into the grey wastes not to worship, but to challenge. Jurgal, tired of his burden, did not fight them. Instead, he made a deal. He stepped aside. He allowed them to divide his power among themselves. They played a game of knucklebones to determine the split. Bane, the ultimate authoritarian, won the domain of tyranny and strife. He sought to rule all, to enforce order through fear and iron. Miakal, the necromancer, claimed the dead. He sought to rule the spirits, to be the master of the inevitable grave and the fear that precedes it. Baal, the most savage, claimed murder. He did not care for ruling the dead or the living. He cared only for the moment of ending, the hot spray of blood, the cessation of life. This ancient bargain is the foundation of everything that happens in Baldur's Gate 3. But a question arises. Why are they here now? Why are they skulking in the shadows, using mind flayers, creatures they historically have no allegiance with, to enact their will? To answer this, we must look at the metaphysics of the Forgotten Realms, following the events known as the Second Sundering. The Overgod, Au, the god of gods, decreed that deities could no longer interfere directly in the mortal world with their full power. They had to act through their followers. Their power became inextricably linked to the souls that believed in them. A god without worshippers is a corpse floating in the astral sea. Bane, Baal, and Miakal chose a different path. They refused to fade into the background. They accepted a diminished state, becoming quasi-deities, in exchange for the ability to remain physically present on Toril. They exist in a state of liminal mortality, They can be killed, yes, as we see throughout the game, but they can also touch the world. They can whisper directly into the ears of their chosen. They can walk the earth. This desperation drives the plot of the Absolute. These three gods are starving. Their worship has waned. The great temples of Bane are dust. The Ballspawn saga of the previous century ended in ruin. Miakul is remembered only in fear, not reverence. They needed a way to force the world to bow, to die, and to fear them once again. Let us analyze the specific flavor of evil each brings to the Absolute. For the Absolute is merely a trench coat worn by three distinct philosophies of destruction. First, there is Bane, the Lord of Darkness. In the iconography of the Absolute, we see his influence in the rigid hierarchy. The goblins are militarized. The cultists are organized into ranks. This is not chaotic zealotry, it is weaponized order. Bane despises chaos. He believes the strong should rule the weak. When Gortash, his chosen, speaks of unity and security, he is channeling Bane. Bane's goal is not the destruction of Baldur's Gate, but its subjugation. He wants a world where every knee is bent, where freedom is recognized as a flaw. The Steel Watch, those massive mechanical constructs policing the city, are the physical manifestation of Banite philosophy, unfeeling, unyielding, absolute control. Next, we have Miakul, the Lord of Bones. His influence permeates the shadow-cursed lands. If you recall the stifling darkness of Act 2, the way the shadows themselves consume life and leave only husks, that is Miakul's touch. Miakul represents the fear of death and the unnatural extension of existence. He is the god of the rot. In the Absolute's plot, Miakul provides the necromantic binding. The tadpoles, as we discussed, are in stasis. This suspension of biological time is a necromantic art. Miakul's contribution is the preservation of the army, the ability to raise those who fall to fight again. Ketheric Thorm, his chosen, is an immortal general, a man who cannot die. This is the promise Miakul makes. Serve me, and you need never fear the grave, for you shall live within it. Finally, there is Baal, the Lord of Murder. He is the volatile element. While Bane builds the prison and Miakul digs the grave, Baal just wants to fill it. Baal is the god of the urge, the dark urge. His influence is seen in the senseless cruelty of the plot. Where Bane might enslave a population to work, Baal demands a tribute of blood. The pile of bodies found in the hidden chambers, the flayed skin, the artistic display of gore. This is Baal's signature. He is the least interested in the grand design of controlling the world. He ultimately wants to reduce the world to zero. He is the entropy that threatens to tear the Alliance apart from the inside. The alliance of these three is inherently unstable. It is an alliance of convenience. In the lore, the dead three often fight among themselves. Bane views Baal as a rabid dog that needs a leash. Miakul views Bane as a pompous tyrant. Baal views them both as obstacles to his slaughter. So, what binds them? The answer lies in the apostolic souls. This is a deep cut of lore revealed by Withers. The plot of the Absolute involves infecting the population with mind flayer tadpoles when a humanoid undergoes seramorphosis and becomes a mind flayer. Their soul is destroyed. Or rather, based on what we know of the fugue plane, the soul is processed in a way that it does not go to the afterlife. It does not go to the gods. It vanishes from the cycle of the weave. For the other gods of Ferun Tyr, Selûne, Mistra, Lathander, this is a catastrophe. If their worshippers are turned into mind flayers, the gods lose their power source. They starve. The Dead Three have weaponized this mechanic. By controlling the elder brain, they hold the kill switch for millions of souls. They can threaten the other gods. Let us rule, or we will delete the souls of your followers. It is a hostage situation on a cosmic scale. Furthermore, the Dead Three are subverting the illithid hive mind to generate their own artificial worship. The Absolute acts as a funnel. When a cultist prays to the Absolute, the psychic energy is intercepted and siphoned to Bane, Baal, and Miakul. They are hacking the system of divinity. They are using alien technology to steal prayers. We see this manifest in the colony beneath Moonrise Towers. The architecture there is a blend of the organic, slimy curves of the illithid and the sharp, brutalist stone of the Dead Three. Murals depict the three gods standing together, unified by the crown of Karsus. The crown is the linchpin. We will delve into the crown of Karsus later, but for now, understand that it is the tool that allows these three quasi-deities to dominate a being as powerful as an elder brain. Without the crown, the brain would enslave them instantly. With the crown, the brain is a battery. As you play through the game, pay attention to the environmental storytelling in the temples. In the Temple of Baal beneath the city, the stone is slick with fresh blood, the air humid with a metallic scent. It feels frenzied. Contrast this with the mausoleum of Ketheric Thorm, which is cold, dusty, silent, and filled with the smell of dry rot. Then compare that to the fortress of Gortash at Worm's Rock, which is sterile, mechanical, filled with the ticking of gears and the smell of oil. These distinct atmospheres represent the clashing philosophies of the three gods. They are trying to sing a harmony, but they are all singing in different keys. The tragedy of the Dead Three is that they are trapped in a cycle of their own making. They sought power to escape the boredom of death, but they have become slaves to their own portfolios. Bane must tyrannize, Baal must murder, Miakul must rot. They lack the free will to change their nature. This is juxtaposed against the player character, who, despite having a parasite in their brain, possesses the ultimate power, the power of choice. You can choose to resist. The gods cannot. They are static entities, crashing waves against the shore of history, eroding it slowly, but unable to stop their own motion. In the grand tapestry of the Forgotten Realms, the Dead Three are the recurring villains who refuse to stay down. They are the rot in the floorboards of the Pantheon. And in Baldur's Gate 3, they have made their most ambitious gamble yet. They have allied with the one thing that the gods fear more than each other: the far realm, the alien, the illithid. It is a deal with the devil, but in this case, the devils are the ones making the deal. We have established the facade, the absolute, and the architects, the dead three. Now, we must turn our eyes to the specific vessel of this destruction. We must look at the origin of the plot itself. We must speak of a character who was not merely recruited, but born for this exact purpose. We must speak of the dark urge. Now, let us narrow our focus. We have looked at the sky, at the gods hiding behind the clouds. Now we must look at the earth, specifically at a patch of blood-stained stone where you, or rather, the entity known as the Dark Urge, stand. In the standard playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3, the protagonist, often referred to by the community as Tav, is a blank slate, a canvas upon which you paint a history. But there is another path, a canon origin that recontextualizes the entire narrative of the game. This is the story of the Dark Urge, and to understand the secret reveal of Baldur's Gate, we must accept a terrifying truth. The villain of this story was not initially the Elder Brain. It was not Orin. It was not even Gortash. The villain was you, or at least who you were before the tadpole devoured your memories. Let us explore the biology of a ballspawn. In the saga of the previous century, the tale known as the Ballspawn Crisis, the Lord of Murder foresaw his death during the time of troubles. He walked the lands of Faerun in mortal guise, seducing women of every race: human, elf, giant, dragon. He sired children, biological offspring who carried a spark of his divine essence in their blood. These were the Ballspawn we knew from the ancient texts. They were half mortal, half god, struggling with a heritage they did not ask for. They had mothers. They had childhoods. They had a chance at normalcy, however slim. The Dark Urge is different. If you dig deep into the archives of the Temple of Baal, or if you listen closely to the words of the Scribe of the Dead, you uncover a darker genesis. The Dark Urge was not born in the traditional sense. There was no mother. There was no conception. The Dark Urge was sculpted. When Baal was resurrected, he wished for a champion who was not diluted by mortal DNA. He took his own dead flesh, the gore of a murdered god, and he molded it. He breathed his own malice into it. The Dark Urge is, in essence, a clone of Baal's pure intent. You are not a child of Baal. You are a dagger of Baal given humanoid form. You are the purest. This distinction is vital to understanding the urge itself. For a normal Ballspawn, the impulse to kill might be a whisper, a temptation. For the Dark Urge, it is a scream. It is a physiological need, akin to breathing or sleeping. Without blood, the Dark Urge physically suffers. The narration in the game describes it as a sickness, a headache that splits the skull, a trembling in the hands that only ceases when they are submerged in something warm and wet. It is an addiction written into the genetic code. Before the events of the game, before the nautiloid ship appeared in the sky over Yarder, the Dark Urge was a figure of immense power and terror. in Baldur's Gate. You were the leader of the Ballast cult. You were the high priest. You walked the Undercity not as a refugee, but as a king of the sewers. We must talk about the blood in Baldur's Gate. 15 years prior to the game's start, acts of horrific violence began to plague the city. These were not simple muggings. They were artistic displays of cruelty. This was the work of the Dark Urge. In the prequel story, we learn of an investigator named Valeria, a Holophant, a celestial being, who was looking into these murders. The Dark Urge was the phantom she chased. You were the monster in the dark, but you were not a mindless beast. This is the tragedy. The Dark Urge, prior to the memory loss, was calculating. You were intelligent. You possessed a sophisticated charm. You were capable of navigating high society just as easily as you navigated the temple slaughterhouse. This brings us to the most significant relationship in the game's backstory, the bond between the Dark Urge and Enver Gortash. When you explore the Mind Flayer colony at the end of Act 2, you can find a journal in the barracks. In it, there are notes about the First Chosen. It speaks of a partnership. Gortash, the Chosen of Bane, found a kindred spirit in the Dark Urge. Bane and Baal typically have a contentious relationship. Bane wants to rule, Baal wants to kill. A kingdom of corpses has no subjects to rule, so their goals usually conflict. However, Gortash and the Dark Urge found a compromise. They were, in a twisted sense, friends. Perhaps the only friend either ever had. There is a moment, if you play as the Dark Urge and confront Gortash in Worm's Rock, where the facade of the tyrant cracks. Gortash looks at you, this amnesiac adventurer, and he doesn't see an enemy. He sees his lost partner. He speaks with a strange fondness. "I wondered if you would return," he says. It was the Dark Urge and Gortash who hatched the plan to raid the Hells. It was not a coincidence. They traveled together to the realm of Mephistopheles, the archdevil of Cania. They broke into his vault. It was the Dark Urge who helped steal the crown of Karsus. Imagine the scene, the Chosen of Tyranny and the Chosen of Murder, standing back to back in the infernal fires of Cania, fighting off devils, stealing an artifact of god-tier magic. It is a partnership of catastrophic potential. They brought the crown back to the material plane. They located the Elder Brain. They were the ones who devised the plan to enslave it. The Dark Urge was the architect of the Absolute. This recontextualizes everything. When you wake up on the beach in Act 1, confused and frightened, looking for a healer, you are actually the arsonist looking for the fire department. You created the problem you are trying to solve. The tadpole in your head, it is part of the very shipment you authorized. The cultists trying to kill you. They are worshiping the god you enslaved. So, what happened? How did the mastermind become the victim? This is where the tragedy deepens. The Dark Urge had a weakness: jealousy, not from them, but directed at them. Within the Temple of Baal, there is always a hierarchy of blades, and waiting in the wings was Orin the Red. We will delve into Orin in the next section. But for now, Understand that the dark urge fell because of betrayal. You were ambushed. Your skull was opened, and a tadpole was inserted not to control you, but to destroy you, to wipe the slate clean, to turn the high priest into a mindless thrall. But the procedure was botched. Or perhaps your ballast blood was too strong. The tadpole ate your memories, yes. It took your name, your history, your alliances, but it could not eat the urge. The urge remained, lurking in the brain stem, a ghost in the machine. Throughout your journey, you are accompanied, haunted, by a figure named Celeritas Fell, a small, wretched, goblin-like creature in a top hat and tails. He is your butler, but he is not a living creature in the traditional sense. He is a manifestation of Baal's will, given form to ensure you do not stray. Celeritas Fell acts as the custodian of your worst self. When you try to be a hero, he appears in the night to remind you of the joy of slaughter. He rewards you. He brings you gifts, like the Deathstalker mantle, a cloak woven from the skin of your victims. He speaks to you with the obsequious tone of a servant who knows his master is a monster. "You are doing so well, my lord," he croons. As you stand over a body you do not remember killing. One of the most harrowing moments for a Dark Urge player occurs in camp. You go to sleep peaceful. You wake up, and there is blood on your hands. A brutally murdered bard, Ulfira, perhaps, or a dragonborn named Quill, if Ulfira is unavailable, lies dead at your feet. You did it in your sleep. You had no control. This narrative mechanic serves to terrify the player. It strips away agency. In a game about choices, the Dark Urge reminds you that some things are in your blood, but here lies the beauty of the Dark Urge storyline. It is the only storyline that offers true redemption. A normal character who saves the world is just doing their job. A hero doing hero things. But the Dark Urge, if the Dark Urge saves the world, it is a rebellion against their very creator. It is a rejection of their DNA. When you stand before Baal in the final act, if you choose to defy him, you are literally dying. Baal rips his essence out of you. You die. Wither's Jurgle must intervene to bring you back. And when he does, he says something profound. You are no longer a Baal spawn. You are just you. However, if you embrace it, if you accept the gift, you become the Slayer. The Slayer form is a hulking, spiked monstrosity, an avatar of pure destruction. You fulfill the destiny that was written in your gore at the moment of your creation. You take your place at the head of the table again, and Gortash's plan is back on track. The secret reveal here is that the entire plot of Baldur's Gate 3 is essentially a workplace dispute between three chosen, gone horribly wrong. The chaos of the game is the fallout of a coup within the Temple of Baal. The Dark Urge represents the horror of the internal enemy. The monster is not the squid-faced alien. The monster is the voice in your head that tells you it would be so easy to push your companion off the cliff. It would be so satisfying to see the light go out in their eyes. As we finish this section on the Dark Urge, picture the Temple of Baal again. Deep underground, past the Farslayer, past the trial of sudden death. There is a room there, the heavy stone doors sealed. This was your room. Inside, there are hooks on the ceiling. There are drains in the floor. It was your sanctuary. Now it is empty, and the usurper sits on your throne, a changeling with a penchant for theatrics and a desperate need for approval. We must now turn our attention to her, the one who broke the plan, the one who plunged the knife into your back and set the world on fire because she lacked the patience to watch it burn slowly. We turn to Orin the Red. The scent of the sewers beneath Baldur's Gate is complex. It is damp, earthy, filled with the decay of a city that produces more waste than it can manage. But if you go deeper, past the Undercity ruins, past the ancient architecture that predates the current civilization, the smell changes. It becomes sharp. Iron, copper, the smell of an abattoir that has never been scrubbed clean. We are entering the domain of Orin the Red. If the dark urge was the cold, calculating mind of murder, the silence before the strike, Orin, is the scream that follows. She is the current chosen of Baal, and she is everything her predecessor was not. Chaotic, flamboyant, unstable, and deeply, tragically human in her insecurities. To understand Orin, we must look at her armor. It is not metal. It is not leather. It is a carapace of shifting, raw meat and chitin. It is organic. It looks as though she has turned her own skin inside out to wear her devotion on the surface. She is a changeling, a shapeshifter, a creature who is uncomfortable in any singular form because she lacks a singular identity. She calls her killings art. This is the first distinction between the two Baalist leaders. The dark urge killed because it was a necessity, a biological imperative, a step in a plan. Orin kills because she needs an audience. She arranges bodies like flowers in a vase. She paints with blood. She speaks in riddles and rhymes, treating the act of taking a life as a theatrical performance. "I shall make a sculpture of your screaming," she whispers. But beneath this bravado lies a fragile, shattered psyche. Orin is not a pure Baal spawn. She is not made of the gods' gore. She is impure. Her lineage is a horror story even by the standards of the Dead Three. Her grandfather is Servak Anshev. Yes, the Servak, the villain of the original Baldur's Gate, the man who almost brought the Sword Coast to ruin a century ago. Servak died, but in the lore of Dungeons and Dragons, the dead do not always stay still. He was resurrected, partially, serving now as the gatekeeper of the Baalist temple. He stands in the murder tribunal, a massive, armored echo of his former glory, judging those who seek to become unholy assassins. The twist, discovered in a bloody journal in Orin's private chambers, is that Servak is not just her grandfather. He is her father. He sired her upon his own daughter, Helena. This incestuous, cursed conception produced Orin. She was born into a legacy of failure. Servak failed to become the lord of murder. Her mother, Helena, failed to kill Servak. He killed her instead when she tried to usurp him. Orin grew up watching the dark urge, the true Baal spawn, the perfect creation, receive all of the gods' favor. Imagine the jealousy. Imagine growing up in a cult where murder is the only language of love, and seeing your father, Baal, bestow all his attention on your sibling, the Dark Urge. Baal did not speak to Orin. He did not give her the urge. He gave her nothing but silence. So she took matters into her own hands. The betrayal of the Dark Urge was not a battle of epic proportions. It was a cheap shot. It happened in the Moonrise Towers, likely during the early planning stages of the Absolute's conspiracy, just before the game begins. Orin, driven by envy and the whispering of her dagger, Bloodthirst, attacked the Dark Urge from behind. She carved open their skull. She inserted the tadpole into the open wound, damaging the brain so severely that the Dark Urge's memories leaked out like water from a cracked cup. It was an act of petulant rebellion. She wanted to prove she was better. She wanted to be the one to lead the grand design, but in doing so, she broke the machine. Enver Gortash, the chosen of Bane, knew immediately that the plan was doomed. He respected the Dark Urge. They had a disciplined partnership. Orin was a wild dog. You cannot plan a continent-spanning domination scheme with a partner who might decide to skin the messenger because she liked the texture of his eyelids. Orin's instability is the reason the Absolute's plot begins to unravel in Act 3. She does not trust Gortash. She does not trust Ketheric. She barely trusts herself. She believes everyone is trying to steal her glory. Her shape-shifting ability adds a layer of extreme paranoia to the narrative. In the city of Baldur's Gate, she is everywhere. She could be the blacksmith. She could be the guard. She could be the dryad at the circus. She mocks you. She appears as a crying child, only to dissolve into gore and laughter when you approach. This is psychological warfare. She wants you to fear her. She needs you to fear her, because if you don't, she is just a sad, broken girl with a knife. There is a shocking moment where Orin infiltrates your camp. This is one of the most violating moments in the game's lore. She does not just attack, she replaces someone. She might take the form of Liesel, holding a knife to the throat of the child Yenna. She might be Gale, speaking of explosive endings. She plays with your companions, using their faces to deliver her threats. She kidnaps a member of your party, Halsin, Gale, Liesel, or Minthara, and drags them to the Temple of Baal. She chains them to a sacrificial altar. This is not strategic. Gortash would have used the hostage to force a political concession. Orin uses the hostage to force you to play a game. She wants a duel. When you finally descend into the Temple of Baal to confront her, you are walking into the center of her madness. The temple is built on a massive scale, ancient stone bridges spanning chasms of darkness. At the center lies the fane of the Ballspawn. Here, we see the tragic reality of Orin's existence. Servok is nearby. If you haven't killed him in the tribunal, he watches. And even in this final moment, he is critical of her. He calls her weak. He says she relies too much on her shape-shifting, that she lacks the pure, brutal focus of the Slayer. Orin begs for Baal's notice. "Witness me, Father," she cries, and Baal does witness her. He grants her the Slayer form. The Slayer is the avatar of the Lord of Murder. It is a hulking, spiked monstrosity, a creature of pure instinct. For the dark urge, this transformation is a birthright. For Orin, it is a costume she is struggling to wear. It hurts her. You can hear it in her screams as she transforms. The divine essence is incompatible with her impure blood. She is burning herself up to be bright enough for her God to see. If you are playing as the dark urge, this confrontation is deeply personal. It is the rightful heir returning to reclaim the throne from the steward who stole it. Orin knows this. She hates you for it. "You were perfect," she screams. "And I broke you." Her weapons, bloodthirst and crimson mischief, tell their own stories. The flavor text on these legendary daggers speaks of a chaotic fighting style, of stabbing not to kill quickly, but to inflict maximum pain. She is a torture artist. But there is a specific detail about her death that is crucial to the lore. When Orin dies, she does not simply fall. She disintegrates. She turns into a pile of red dust and gore. Baal reclaims the blood he lent her. He does not save her. He does not mourn her. To Baal, Orin was a tool that lost its edge. This reinforces the utter nihilism of the Baalist faith. There is no reward for service. There is no heaven waiting for the faithful. There is only the use, and then the disposal. Orin spent her entire life seeking validation from a father figure who viewed her as biodegradable ammunition. Her disruption of the alliance is the secret reveal of the political landscape. The Steel Watchers, the cultists, the tadpoles, all of it was supposed to be a silent coup. Orin made it loud. She started killing people in the streets again. She left bodies to be found. She drew the attention of the Flaming Fist and the investigators. Gortash was furious. We can find correspondence between Gortash and Ketheric Thorm where they discuss the Orin problem. They considered killing her themselves, but they couldn't risk the wrath of Baal, and they needed her netherstone. The netherstone she carries, the dagger, controls the urge to kill within the elder brain. Without Orin's stone, the brain becomes more aggressive, less subtle. Her chaotic nature is reflected in the stone's function. Orin serves as a dark mirror to the protagonist. You gather companions, she kills them. You seek to save the city, she seeks to paint it red. You fight for your freedom, she fights for her servitude. As her ashes settle on the cold stone of the temple floor, we are left with the realization that the most dangerous aspect of the Absolute's plot was not the meticulous planning, but the unplanned variable of a child acting out. Orin the Red destroyed the world not because she wanted to rule it, but because she was throwing a tantrum on a cosmic scale. With Orin dead, her stone falls into your hands. The chaotic element is removed, but now we are left with the tyrant. The man who sat in the shadows, watching the chaos, and calculating how to turn even this setback into a victory. We must leave the blood-soaked sewers and ascend. We must go to the high towers of Worm's Rock. We must trade the stench of copper for the smell of engine grease and fine perfume. We must speak of the man who sold his own humanity for a crown of iron. Inver Gortash awaits. Rise now. Leave the humid, copper-scented darkness of the Ballast Temple. Wash the blood from your boots. We are ascending. We are leaving the chaotic underbelly of the city to walk upon its highest, most fortified peaks. We are crossing the bridge to Worm's Rock Fortress. Listen, can you hear it? It is not the screaming of victims, but a rhythmic, heavy thudding. Thud, thud, thud. The sound of metal striking stone in perfect unison. It is the heartbeat of the new order. It is the marching of the Steel Watch. We have arrived at the domain of Enver Gortash. If Orin represents the chaotic horror of the Absolute, Gortash represents its seductive logic. He is the handsome face on the poster. He is the politician who stands before a frightened crowd and says, "I can save you." And the terrifying part is, he has manufactured the very danger he promises to save them from. Enver Gortash is the chosen of Bane, the Lord of Tyranny. But unlike the brutal warlords of Bane's past, men who ruled with whips and spikes, Gortash does not rule with crude violence. He rules with a smile and a contract. He is a villain for the modern age, an industrialist, an arms dealer, and a Grand Duke. He understands that true tyranny is not about breaking bones. It is about breaking the will to resist. Let us examine his masterpiece, the Steel Watchers. Walk up to one of these towering constructs in your mind. They are massive, plated in shining armor, wielding great swords that hum with energy. They look like guardians. The citizens of Baldur's Gate look up to them with a mix of awe and terror. They are presented as the ultimate solution to the refugee crisis and the cultist threat. But the secret of their construction is one of the darkest lore reveals in the game. The Steel Watchers are not mere golems. They are not clockwork toys. If you investigate the Steel Watch Foundry in the lower city, down by the gray harbor waters, you discover the truth. Inside the chest cavity of every Steel Watcher is a zombie. A headless, mutilated zombie, rigged with wires and infernal machinery. Specifically, their brains are harvested. The logic engine of a Steel Watcher is a humanoid brain infected with a tadpole chemically lobotomized and suspended in a jar of necroalchemical fluid. The chassis is powered by hell iron, enriched by the suffering of souls. Gortash has built a police force literally powered by the enslaved dead. It is a grotesque perversion of life, hidden beneath polished steel. It is the perfect metaphor for his rule. A shiny, safe exterior hiding a rotting, enslaved core. Every time a citizen cheers for a Steel Watcher, they are cheering for a zombie piloted by a parasite. But to understand Gortash, we must look past his machines. We must find the man, and to find the man, we must go to a humble shoe shop in the lower city, Flime's Cobblers. This is a location many adventurers miss. It is tucked away, unassuming. But inside, you find two elderly people, Sally and Dravo Flime. They seem terrified. They speak in stilted, forced sentences praising their son Enver. If you cast Detect Thoughts or Probe Deeper, you realize they are infected. They are under the control of a tadpole. These are Gortash's parents. The story they tell, if you can break through the conditioning, is the key to Gortash's psychology. Decades ago, they were in debt, crippling debt. To settle their accounts, they made a deal not with a bank, but with a devil. They sold their son, Enver, to the warlock Raphael. Enver Gortash did not grow up in Baldur's Gate playing in the streets. He grew up in the House of Hope, Raphael's fortress in the Hells. He was a plaything, a slave. He was tortured, tested, and educated in the cruelest ways imaginable. Lore theorists often overlook this critical nuance. Gortash was raised by a devil. He learned politics from the denizens of the Nine Hells. He learned that love is a weakness, that leverage is the only currency, and that the only way to be safe is to be the one holding the leash. When he finally escaped the Hells, a feat of immense cunning in itself, for few escape the House of Hope, he returned to Faerun. But he did not return with a desire for revenge against his parents, though he did enslave them later for safekeeping. He returned with a pathological desire for security. He swore he would never be powerless again. He gravitated toward Bane because Bane offers the ultimate security, total control. If you control everything, the laws, the army, the gods, the people, nothing can ever hurt you again. His tyranny is a trauma response written in blood and iron. This history explains his relationship with Karlach. Ah, Karlach, the fiery heart of our companion roster. Her tragedy is directly linked to Gortash's rise. Years ago, Gortash employed Karlach. She was his bodyguard. She trusted him. She admired him. She thought they were changing the city for the better. Karlach, with her good heart, saw Gortash as a visionary. Gortash saw her not as a friend, but as a resource. When Zariel, the Archduchess of Avernus, needed a soldier for the Blood War, Gortash saw an opportunity. He needed the infernal technology Zariel possessed to build his steel watch. He needed the blueprints for the Hell engines. Zariel needed a champion. Gortash traded Karlach for the technology. He sold her just as his parents sold him. He perpetuated the cycle of abuse perfectly. He looked at the woman who would have died for him, and he calculated her market value. This is the Banite philosophy in action. People are assets. Sentiment is inefficiency. The moment Karlach became more valuable as a slave than as a bodyguard, he made the trade. Let us return to the grand design. We established earlier that the Dark Urge and Gortash were partners. Gortash provided the intellect and the resources to raid the Hells again. But this time, they didn't go to the House of Hope. They went deeper. In the lore, Mephistopheles is the archdevil of Cania, the 8th layer of Hell. He is the second most powerful devil, a hoarder of arcane secrets. His vault contained the crown of Karsus. The crown of Karsus is a legendary artifact from the fallen empire of Nethril. It was created by Karsus, the man who tried to become a god and broke the weave. For thousands of years, it was thought lost. Gortash, likely using knowledge gained during his captivity with Raphael, discovered its location. He didn't want the crown for himself. He couldn't use it. He wasn't a wizard. He needed the crown to control the elder brain. He realized that an elder brain, amplified by the crown, could emit a psionic field strong enough to cover the entire Sword Coast. Gortash's plan was brilliant in its cynicism. He knew people would not accept a dictator willingly. So he created a threat. He unleashed the Absolute, the Brain, to terrorize the countryside with goblins and cultists. Then he positioned himself as the only man who could stop it. The coronation ceremony in Worm's Rock is the culmination of this theater. Picture the scene. The Grand Duke Revengard, father of Will, and a man of honor stands there, glassy-eyed, infected, crowning Gortash as the Archduke of Baldur's Gate. The nobility claps. They are desperate. They are scared of the earthquake tremors caused by the brain and the reports of monster armies. They hand their freedom to Gortash on a silver platter, thanking him as he puts the chains on their wrists. My Starkindred, he calls them. If you are playing as the Dark Urge, the interaction here is fascinating. Gortash is genuinely happy to see you. He proposes a renewed alliance. Rule with me, he says. We can dispose of Orin. We can dispose of Ketheric. It can be just us, as it was meant to be. He means it. Gortash is capable of partnership, but only with an equal. Everyone else is a tool. He respected the Dark Urge's discipline. He despises Orin's chaos because it threatens the stability of his new empire. However, Gortash makes a fatal miscalculation. He believes he controls the elder brain. He believes the Netherstones, the 3 gems torn from the crown that command the brain, are absolute. He possesses the gauntlet, the Netherstone of tyranny. It allows him to command the brain to hold still, to calculate, to wait, but he underestimates the brain's evolution. He treats the brain like a machine, unaware that the brain has gained a complexity of thought that surpasses his own political maneuvering. The elder brain, as we will learn, played Gortash. It allowed him to believe he was in charge because it needed him to bring the stones together. It needed the chosen to gather in one place. When Gortash finally confronts the Nether Brain in the endgame, there is a moment of sheer, freezing horror. He commands the brain to kneel. The brain laughs. The psionic backlash instantly kills him. The great tyrant, the man who escaped hell, the man who built an army of steel, is snuffed out like a candle in a gale. His death is unceremonious. There is no grand speech. He is simply discarded by a superior predator. His legacy is the ruins of the lower city and the piles of scrap metal that used to be his watchers. But before that end, Gortash provides one of the most chilling boss fights in the game. In his office, surrounded by traps, flamethrowers, and grenade launchers, he fights with the desperation of a cornered rat. He calls upon Bane. He grows in size, his skin turning distinctively iron gray, glowing with the aura of the god of tyranny. Bane, bestow your black gauntlet upon me. It is a pitiful sight in a way, a mortal man, puffed up with stolen divine power, fighting a losing battle against adventurers who represent the one thing he hates most: chaos, freedom, the unpredictable nature of the human spirit. Gortash teaches us that order, when enforced without empathy, is just another form of hell. He tried to turn Baldur's Gate into a reflection of the orderly, cruel existence he learned from Raphael. He wanted to make the world a prison so that he could hold the keys. As we stand over his body in the high tower of Worm's Rock, we take the second netherstone, the Stone of Tyranny. It is cold to the touch. It feels heavy, burdened by the weight of 1,000 laws and 1,000 executions. Now we have two stones, Orin's dagger and Gortash's gauntlet. But there is a third stone, and to find it, we must leave the city entirely. We must go back in time, narratively speaking, to the shadow-cursed lands. We must discuss the first of the chosen to fall, the man whose resurrection started this entire cascade of events. We must speak of the general, the tragic, immortal paladin of loss, Ketheric Thorm. The air grows cold now. The bustling noise of Baldur's Gate fades behind us, replaced by a silence so profound it hurts the ears. We are traveling back, away from the coast, into the interior, into a land where the sun does not shine, where the trees are twisted into agonizing shapes and the shadows have teeth. We are entering the shadow-cursed lands, and at the heart of this darkness stands a tower that pierces the gloom like a black needle. Moonrise Towers. Inside sits a man on a throne of bone and grief. Ketheric Thorm. If Gortash is the mind of the operation, and Orin is the blade, Ketheric Thorm is the shield. He is the anchor. He is the first of the chosen you must face, and in many ways, he is the most tragic. His evil is not born of a lust for power or a delight in murder. It is born of love, a twisted, rotting, selfish love, but love nonetheless. Let us trace the history of the Thorm family, for it is the history of this cursed land. Over 100 years ago, Ketheric Thorm was not a villain. He was a hero. He was a paladin of Selûne, the Moon Maiden. He built Moonrise Towers as a bastion of light and worship. He was a man of faith, a beloved ruler, a husband to Melodia, and a father to a daughter named Isabel. But the lore of Faerûn is often cruel to those who love too deeply. Tragedy struck. First, his wife Melodia died. We can find her tomb in the Grand Mausoleum, a testament to his devotion. Ketheric's grief was immense, but he held on. He had Isabel. Isabel was the light of his life, the reflection of the moon itself. Then Isabel died. The circumstances of her death are sudden and shocking. In the lore revealed through scattered journals and the testimony of his undead houndmaster, Squire, we learn she fell ill and perished quickly. For Ketheric, this was the breaking point. The silence of Selûne in the face of his prayers drove him mad. How could a goddess of light allow such darkness to befall her most faithful servant? He turned his back on the moon. In his despair, he found a new mistress, Shar, the Lady of Loss. Shar is the twin sister of Selûne, her dark reflection. She offers not healing, but forgetfulness. She offers the embrace of nothingness to numb the pain. Ketheric converted Moonrise Towers into a fortress of Shar. He raised an army of dark justiciars. He sought to plunge the land into eternal night, perhaps believing that in the dark, he wouldn't have to see the empty space where his daughter used to stand. This led to a great war. The Harpers and the Druids of the Emerald Grove united to stop him. Halsin, the Archdruid, and Jaera, the High Harper, were there. They defeated Ketheric. In his final moments, as the Sharon fortress fell, Ketheric unleashed a final curse, the shadow curse that still plagues the land today. He died defeated, a fallen paladin buried in his family tomb. But the story does not end there. For a man like Ketheric, death is just a pause. Decades passed. The Dead Three began their plot. Baal needed an assassin. Bane needed a tyrant. Miakul, the Lord of Bones, needed a general. But more importantly, Miakul needed someone who understood the gravity of death and the desperation to reverse it. Miakul reached into the fugue plane, or perhaps snatched Ketheric's soul before it could fully depart, and offered him a deal. A bargain that no grieving father could refuse. "Serve me," the god of death whispered. "Lead my armies, and I will return her to you." Ketheric accepted. He rose from the grave, no longer a servant of Shar, but the chosen of Miakul. And true to his word, Miakul resurrected Isabel. Imagine the horror of this. Isabel wakes up in her coffin. Her last memory is dying a century ago. She sees her father, but he is changed. He is gray, cold, rotting from the inside out. He tells her everything is fine, that they are together again. But she looks around and sees the cult, the tadpoles, the atrocities he is committing in her name. Isabel fled. She ran to the Last Light Inn, protected by a dome of Selûnite magic projected by a cleric. Horrified by what her father had become, Ketheric, unable to kill her, let her go. But he remains obsessed with recapturing her. He believes he is saving her. He believes that only under the protection of the Absolute, and eventually the silence of Miakul's grave, can she be safe from dying again. This brings us to the source of Ketheric's invulnerability. Throughout the first half of Act 2, Ketheric is presented as unkillable. You can strike him with a great axe, blast him with fire. The wounds close instantly. He walks with a heavy, inevitable gait. He does not dodge because he does not have to. The secret to this power is the Night Song. For a long time, adventurers believed the Night Song was an artifact, a relic. The mercenaries you meet in Act 1 are looking for it. But the Night Song is a person. She is Dame Eilen, a Deva, a daughter of the goddess Selûne, an immortal celestial being. Ketheric, in his Sharon days, managed to trap Dame Eilen. He bound her in the Shadowfell, deep within the gauntlet of Shar. He used Balthazar, a foul necromancer, to construct a ritual that siphons her immortality. Think of it as a parasitic link. Every time Ketheric takes damage, the wound is transferred to Eilen. She heals instantly because she is immortal and thus Ketheric heals. He is using the daughter of his former goddess as a battery for his unholy life. It is a blasphemy of the highest order, using the essence of the Moon Maiden to fuel the champion of the dead. Balthazar is a character worth a specific mention here. He is not a chosen, but he is the mechanic of Ketheric's operation, a bloated, floating necromancer who treats bodies like spare parts. Balthazar was an advisor to Ketheric in the old days and returned with him. He runs the colony beneath the towers, experimenting on the tadpoles, trying to perfect the true souls. He is the one who figured out how to use the shadow curse to incubate the larvae, keeping them in stasis. When you finally confront Ketheric on the rooftop of Moonrise Towers, the facade of the powerful general begins to crack. If you explore his room beforehand, you find letters from his wife. You find his dog, Squire, an undead hound that still loves him, proving that Ketheric's capacity for affection hasn't completely atrophied, even if it is twisted. There is a dialogue option if your persuasion is high enough, where you can ask him to repent, to stop, and for a moment the mask falls. He looks at you with ancient, sad eyes and says, "It is too late for me." He believes he is beyond redemption. He believes he is damned, so he might as well finish the job and secure a world where his daughter cannot die. He is a prisoner of his own choices, just as much as Eileen is a prisoner of his chains. The battle atop the tower is not the end. The true horror lies beneath. When Ketheric retreats, he flees into the Mind Flayer colony situated in the hollowed-out earth under the tower. This location is significant lore-wise. It is the crash site of a nautiloid, but one that has been there for a long time. It has been built into a city of brine and flesh. This is where the Absolute's army is being mass-produced. People are put into pods, infected, and conditioned. Here, in the depths, we see the first meeting of the three chosen: Gortash, Orin, and Ketheric. They stand before the Elder Brain, which rises from a pool of brine. Ketheric commands it with the nether stone in his chest armor. It is revealed here that Ketheric is the linchpin. He commands the armies. Gortash commands the politics. Orin commands the fear. But Ketheric is the one holding the line. When you face him for the final time in the depths, Miakul interferes directly. Ketheric offers himself up. "My lord, I am ready," he says. He falls into the pit, and from the abyss, the apostle of Miakul rises. This is not a metaphor. The god of death manifests through Ketheric's bone structure. A massive, skeletal reaper towering over the battlefield. This confirms the stakes. You are no longer fighting a paladin, you are fighting a deity. The defeat of Ketheric Thorm is the turning point of the game. It is the end of Act 2. With his death, the first Netherstone is claimed. The alliance of the Dead Three loses its army commander. The shadow curse can finally be lifted if you helped Halsin reunite the spirit of the land, Thaniel. But in his dying breath, Ketheric does not curse you. He looks at the stone, at the emptiness. He mutters about Isabel, even as Miakul abandons him. For the dead three do not tolerate failure. Ketheric's thoughts remain on his family. He is a cautionary tale of how grief can curdle into evil. He destroyed a land, betrayed two goddesses, and enslaved a celestial, all because he could not let go. The stone you take from his armor, the nether stone of the dead, feels like ice. It hums with a low, mournful frequency. With Ketheric gone, the army of the Absolute marches on Baldur's Gate, not under the command of a disciplined general, but under the chaotic orders of the remaining two. The shield is broken. Now, only the tyrant and the assassin remain. But before we chase them to the city, we must address the strangest ally in your arsenal. The one who encouraged you to kill Ketheric. The one who lives inside the astral prism. We must speak of the Emperor, but to understand who the Emperor is, we must look at the founding myth of the city itself. We must talk about a legendary sailor, a missing hero, and a secret that changes the history of Baldur's Gate forever. We must talk about Baldurin. We have spoken of gods and generals, of tyrants and assassins. But now, we must turn our gaze to the very stones of the city itself. We must speak of the name that is on everyone's lips, though they do not know the weight of it. Baldur's Gate. The city is not just a location, it is a legacy. It was founded on the wealth and the legend of one man, Baldurin the Seafaring. In the history books of the Sword Coast, Baldurin is a mythic figure, a grand adventurer who sailed past the edge of the known world, beyond the trackless sea to the glittering continent of Anchorome. He returned with ships laden with gold so plentiful that he built the wall around the settlement that would eventually bear his name. Then, as all great legends do, he vanished. He sailed west again, seeking fabled lands, and was never seen again. The people of the city believe he died at sea. They believe his spirit watches over them. They are wrong. Baldurin did not die. He did not drown in the crushing depths of the ocean. He experienced a fate far worse and far more transformative. Throughout your journey in Baldur's Gate 3, you are guided by the Dream Visitor, later revealed to be the Emperor. This Mind Flayer presents himself as a rogue element, an illithid who has retained his free will and seeks to destroy the Absolute. He is calm, rational, and persuasive. He wears a majestic, high-collared outfit that speaks of nobility. He does not act like a monster. He acts like a weary statesman. The secret reveal, perhaps the most shattering lore revelation for a citizen of the Forgotten Realms, is that the Emperor is Baldurin. The founder of the city is not a ghost. He is a mind flayer hiding in the astral prism. Let us trace the path of this transformation. Years ago, during his final voyage, Baldurin did not find paradise. He found a colony of mind flayers. The exact location is debated. Some clues suggest he ran afoul of the Moonrise Towers colony during its first ascendancy, while others suggest the Underdark. But the result was the same. He was captured. He was infected. Ceramorphosis is usually the end of the self. The soul departs, and the parasite consumes the brain, inheriting the memories but shedding the personality. However, Baldurin was a man of exceptional will, even as his body changed. As his skin turned to mauve rubber and tentacles sprouted from his face, he held on. He managed to break free from the elder brain's control. This in itself is a feat of legendary proportion. He returned to his city, but he could not walk the streets he paved. He was a monster. So he hid. He found a new way to rule. He infiltrated the Knights of the Shield, a secret society of merchants and politicians. He found a partner, Duke Bellin Stelmane. Players of the tabletop adventure Murder in Baldur's Gate will remember Duke Stelmane. She was described as having suffered a stroke that left her partially paralyzed and difficult to understand. The lore of Baldur's Gate 3 recontextualizes this horrific detail. It was not a stroke. It was the Emperor. He was feeding on her mind. He was psionically dominating her to act as his proxy. He ruled the city through her, managing its trade and politics from the shadows. He claims they were partners, that he respected her. But if you dig deeper into the medical files found in the Emperor's old hideout beneath the Elfsong Tavern, a darker picture emerges. The treatment he gave her was invasive. He was a parasite in every sense of the word. He used her until her mind shattered. And then, when Gortash discovered him, he was captured again and shipped back to the Elder Brain to pilot the astral prism. But the most tragic proof of his identity lies beneath the city, in the Wormway. To find the Wormway, you must solve a puzzle in the prison of Worm's Rock. You must awaken the torches with lightning. You descend into an ancient sanctuary, a place of trials meant to test the worthiness of a true hero of Baldur's Gate. Here, sleeping in death, lies Answer. Answer is a bronze dragon. In Dungeons and Dragons lore, bronze dragons are noble, lawful, and deeply committed to justice. They often partner with humanoid heroes. Answer was Baldurin's best friend. Many lore scholars argue, based on the intimacy of their letters and the depth of Answer's grief, that they were lovers. When Baldurin vanished, Answer did not give up. The dragon waited. He searched. And finally, he found his lost heart. But he did not find the man. He found the Mind Flayer. Answer, in his devotion, tried to heal Baldurin. He scoured the world for a cure to ceramorphosis. He refused to believe that his friend was gone. He brought the Emperor back to the Wormway, sheltering him beneath the city they built together. But Baldurin had changed. He no longer viewed his condition as a curse. He saw it as an evolution. He was stronger, smarter, longer-lived. He told Answer to stop. He refused the cure. The confrontation that followed is a heartbreaking subversion of the hero and dragon trope. Answer, realizing that the man he loved was effectively dead and that a monster had taken his place, decided to grant him a mercy kill. He tried to destroy the Emperor to save Baldurin's soul. The Emperor killed him. He killed the dragon who loved him. He left Answer's corpse to rot in the Wormway. When you, the player, enter the Wormway and awaken the skeletal remains of Answer, The dragon does not attack immediately. He speaks to the emperor. He calls him by his name. "Baldurin," the dragon rasps, "you are not the man I knew." The emperor's reaction is chillingly pragmatic. He does not express remorse. He does not weep for his fallen friend. He justifies it. "It was self-defense," he says. "He gave me no choice." This is the core of the emperor's character. He is the ultimate survivor. He will sacrifice anything, his city, his friends, his dignity, his humanity, to stay alive. He views sentiment as a weakness. This recontextualizes his relationship with you. Throughout the game, the emperor tries to build a bond. He calls you his favorite. He shares his memories, but knowing the story of Answer and Stelmane, every word he says becomes suspect. Is he grooming you? Is he molding you into a new Duke Stelmane? Is he preparing to discard you the moment you become a threat, just as he discarded Answer? The evidence in his hideout beneath the Elfsong Tavern supports this skepticism. You find his old cutlery, his butter fork, which he mentions with a strange fondness, his cloak, and his sword. These are relics of a human life. He clings to them not out of nostalgia, but as props. They are tools to convince himself and others that he is still Baldurin. But he is not. Lore-wise, mind flayers do not have souls, or at least, they do not have souls that the gods of Faerun recognize. Withers confirms this. When a ceramorphosis completes, the soul of the host is cast into the fugue plane. The creature that remains has the memories of the host, but it is a new entity. Therefore, the Emperor is a copy. He is a sophisticated biological machine running the Baldurin software. He simulates the personality of the hero, but he lacks the moral core. This is why he can kill Answer without hesitation. The love he felt was just data in his memory banks. The survival instinct of the Illithid was the overriding command. His goal is freedom. He wants to destroy the Elder Brain not to save the world, but because the Elder Brain controls him, he wants to be the master of his own destiny again. He is willing to use the crown of Karsus to do it. However, despite his monstrous nature, he is, in a twisted way, the guardian of Baldur's Gate. He protects you. He holds back the transformation. Without him, the game ends in Act 1. You turn into a mind flayer and become a thrall. The complexity of the Emperor is that he is a villain who is currently our only hope. He is the lesser evil incarnate. When he reveals his true face to you, he does so with a calculation. He shows you his tentacles. He undresses his mind. He says, "This is who I am. Accept it." If you reject him, if you call him a monster, he grows cold. He shows you the truth of Stelmane. He threatens you. "I can force you just as I forced her." But if you accept him, if you trust him, he remains a loyal ally to the bitter end. He destroys the brain. He leaves. He does not try to rule the city. This ambiguity is what makes the Baldurin reveal so powerful. It asks the player a fundamental question. What makes a person? Is it their body, their soul? Or is it their memories and their actions? The Emperor believes he is Baldurin, Answer believed he was a monster. You must decide who is right. But there is one line the Emperor will not cross, one threat he fears more than the Elder Brain. And that threat is locked inside the astral prism with him. It is the source of the power that disrupts the hive mind. It is the Prince of the Comet. To understand why the Emperor is so desperate to keep his prisoner bound, we must travel to the astral plane. We must look at the history of the Githyanki, the endless war between the stars, and the lie that a Lick Queen has told for 1,000 years. We must speak of Orpheus. Let us leave the gravity of Toril behind for a moment. Let us float upwards, past the clouds, past the sky, until the blue fades into a swirling, silvery void. We are entering the astral plane. Here, time does not pass in the way we understand it. Bodies do not age. Hunger is a memory. It is a realm of thought and psychic winds, where the petrified carcasses of dead gods float like islands in a sea of liquid mercury. It is a place of infinite possibility and infinite silence. Suspended in this endless silver is the astral prism. You have carried this artifact since the crash. It is a dodecahedron, covered in shifting geometric plates, warm and vibrating with a power that makes your teeth ache. Inside this small object is a pocket dimension, a rocky refuge amidst the astral sea. And inside that refuge, bound by chains of magical red jade, is the most important political prisoner in the multiverse. He is Prince Orpheus, the son of Gith, the true heir to the Githyanki Empire. To understand the magnitude of his imprisonment and why the Emperor is so terrified of him, we must recite the history of the Githyanki, a history that has been systematically erased, rewritten, and weaponized by the current ruler, Vlaakith. Thousands of years ago, the Githyanki were not conquerors, they were slaves. They were the thralls of the Illithid Empire, serving the mind flayers across the plains. Their bodies were warped, their minds shackled. Then came Gith. She was a warrior of unparalleled will. She led the rebellion that broke the Illithid Empire, shattering their dominion and scattering them to the dark corners of the universe. Gith was the liberator. But liberation is not governance. Following the victory, there was a schism. Gith sought to hunt down every last mind flayer in existence to ensure they could never rise again. Her advisor, Zerthaman, believed they should look inward to heal themselves before they became tyrants like their former masters. This disagreement led to the civil war that split the race into the Githyanki, the warlike followers of Gith, and the Githzerai, the monastic followers of Zerthaman. Gith continued her crusade, but to secure the power needed to fight the Illithids forever, she made a pact. She descended into the 9 hells to treat with Tiamat, the queen of evil dragons. The details of this pact are one of the great secrets of Dungeons and Dragons lore. Gith offered something. We do not know exactly what. Perhaps her own soul, perhaps her servitude. In exchange, Tiamat granted the Githyanki the service of red dragons. This is why the space-faring Githyanki ride fire-breathing drakes. It is a terrifying alliance between the astral plane and the hells. Gith never returned from the hells. Into the power vacuum stepped Vlokith. She claimed that Gith had ascended, and that she, Vlokith, was the designated successor. She established the lineage of the Lich Queens. But Gith had a son, Orpheus. Orpheus knew the truth. He knew Vlokith was a usurper who had capitalized on his mother's sacrifice. He led a rebellion against the Lich Queen. This conflict is known in the forbidden texts, specifically the slate discs you find in the Arcane Tower, and the Creche, as the War of the Comet. Vlokith's propaganda machine claims that Orpheus was a traitor, a demon, a failure. They claim he was killed. But the truth, revealed within the prism, is that Vlokith could not kill him. Or perhaps she chose not to. She defeated him, but she realized his unique physiology held a power she could not replicate. Orpheus possesses an innate, hereditary resistance to illithid psionics. He is a living psionic jammer. His mind is a fortress that the elder brains cannot breach. In his presence, the hive mind creates static. The commands of the mind flayers fall silent. Vlokith imprisoned him inside the prism. For eons, she has used him. She did not destroy his power, she weaponized it. Lore scholars interpreting the mechanics of the game suggest that the Githyanki's ability to resist the Ghaik is partially derived from the siphoned essence of Orpheus. He is the battery that powers their resistance, even as they curse his name. Now fast forward to the present day. The Emperor Baldur found the prism. Or rather, he was sent to retrieve it by the elder brain before breaking free. He entered the device and found Orpheus. The Emperor, being a pragmatic survivalist, did not free the prince. He realized that Orpheus was the only thing stopping the elder brain from dominating him again. So, he subdued Orpheus's honor guard, the monks who had protected their sleeping prince for centuries, and hooked himself up to Orpheus like a parasite. When the Emperor protects you from the Absolute, he is not using his own magic. He is channeling the power of Orpheus. He is forcing the prince's aura to extend over you, shielding your mind from the call of the nether brain. This is the great moral atrocity at the center of your survival. You are alive only because a freedom fighter is being mentally violated and drained by a mind flayer in a box in your pocket. Let us discuss the tragedy of Liesel in this context. Liesel begins the game as a fanatic. She worships Vlokith Clvii, the current Lich Queen, with a religious fervor. She dreams of ascension. She believes that if she serves well, brings back a mind flayer head, and proves her worth, the Queen will grant her a place in the astral city of Tunnerath and elevate her to a higher state of being. The secret reveal is that ascension is a lie. Vlokith is a Lich. She is undead. She requires souls to sustain her power and to fuel her own godhood fantasies. When a Githyanki warrior becomes strong enough to ascend, Vlokith does not elevate them. She eats them. She consumes their soul. The paradise she promises is simply the digestive tract of a Lich. This is why there are no old Githyanki. They either die in battle or they get strong enough to be eaten. It is a culture built on the farming of its own strongest children. The uncovering of this lie is spearheaded by Ketheric Thorm. When you first meet Voss at the bridge in Act 1, he seems like just another arrogant dragon rider. He orders the death of your party. But if you pay close attention, his behavior is erratic. He is searching for the weapon. He is searching for the prism. Voss was there during the War of the Comet. He was Orpheus's friend for thousands of years. Voss has pretended to serve Vlaakith, rising to the rank of Supreme Commander, all while secretly plotting to find the prison of his true prince. He has played the longest con in the history of the astral plane. When the truth comes out, via the slate discs found in the creche, it shatters Liesel's world. Her god is a devil. Her history is a fabrication. The traitor Orpheus is actually the Messiah. If you enter the prism in Act 3, you see Orpheus in the flesh. He is bound in magical chains, his body contorted. He is not asleep. He is conscious. He is aware of every moment of his imprisonment. He is aware that a mind flayer is using him, and he is aware that you are benefiting from it. Orpheus hates you, at least initially. To him, you are indistinguishable from the illithid. You carry a tadpole. You smell of the far realm. You are using his stolen power to save your own skin while leaving him in chains. The Emperor works very hard to convince you that Orpheus is a threat. If you free him, the Emperor warns, he will kill us all. He hates Geik more than anything. This creates the central dilemma of the endgame. Do you trust the mind flayer who has manipulated you but kept you alive? Or do you free the Githyanki prince who hates you but represents the rightful order of things? If you free Orpheus, you need the Orphic hammer, a legendary weapon stolen from Raphael's House of Hope. Breaking his chains is not just a physical act, it is a metaphysical one. It unleashes a wave of psionic fury. But here is the twist that defines Orpheus's character. If you free him, he does not immediately kill you. He is furious, yes. He scolds you for waiting so long, but he is pragmatic. He sees the nether brain looming over the city. He knows that the grand design threatens not just Faerun, but the astral plane as well. He agrees to fight alongside you. Furthermore, he makes the ultimate sacrifice. To defeat the nether brain, someone must wield the nether stones, and to wield the stones against a nether brain, one must think like a mind flayer. The human, or elven/dwarven mind, is simply too limited to interface with the Karsite weave and the brain simultaneously. Orpheus, the man whose entire existence is defined by his hatred of illithids, the man whose mother liberated the universe from them, is willing to become a mind flayer to save his people. I will become the very thing I hate, he says. He lets the infection take him. He sacrifices his soul, his identity, and his crown to stop the tyranny of the grand design. It is a tragic irony. The son of Gith becomes a Geik to preserve Gith's legacy. If you choose this path, The ending is bittersweet. The rebellion is won, but the prince is lost. He asks you to kill him before he loses himself. Do not let me be remembered as a monster, he begs. Liesel, if she is with you, weeps. It is the death of her god, but the birth of her freedom. Orpheus serves as a foil to the dead three. They sought power for selfish gain. Orpheus possessed power by birthright, but spent his existence in a cage, only to give up his life the moment he tasted freedom. His story also highlights the cosmic horror of the setting. The Githyanki are not good guys in the traditional sense. They are interdimensional raiders who murder and pillage. But compared to the absolute erasure of the Illithid grand design, they are a necessary force. Orpheus represents a harsh, martial freedom, but freedom nonetheless. As we look at the prism one last time, realize that it is not just a magical item. It is a coffin for a living god. It is the pivot point upon which the fate of the rebellion turns. The Emperor, Vlaakith, and the Elder Brain are all fighting for control of this one Githyanki. And you are the one holding the box. We have established the players. We have the Chosen, the Mind Flayer, the Prince, and the Urge. Now we must look at the tool. We have mentioned it many times, but we have not fully dissected its origin. It is the crown that sits upon the brain, the crown of Karsus. To understand it, we must go back to the age of Netheril. We must speak of flying cities, of hubris that broke the world, and of a wizard named Gale, who is dangerously close to repeating the mistakes of the past. We must speak of the folly. We descend now from the silver void of the astral plane. We leave the timeless drifting of the Githyanki and return to the solid ground of Toril. But we are not looking at the dirt beneath our feet. We are looking at the dust. The magical dust of a civilization that fell from the sky 3,000 years ago. To understand the final piece of the Absolute's puzzle, to understand the object that sits upon the Elder Brain's throbbing brow, we must understand the empire of Netheril. In the modern age of realms, magic is regulated. It has limits. A wizard, no matter how powerful, even an archmage like Elminster, must rest. They must memorize spells. They are constrained by the weave, the fabric of magic tended to by the goddess Mystra. But long ago, in the age of Arcanum, there were no such limits. Netheril was a civilization of floating cities. Imagine massive enclaves of stone and glass, severed from the earth by sheer magical will, drifting through the clouds like man-made moons. These were the enclaves. In these cities, magic was not a tool. It was the atmosphere. They cleaned their streets with prestidigitation. They lit their homes with eternal flames. They traveled instantly through portals. They had conquered the material world. At the height of this empire lived a man named Karsus. Karsus was not a villain in the traditional sense of seeking pain or death. He was a prodigy. Lore states he cast his first spell at the age of 2. By 22, he was the archwizard of the enclave of Eiliner. He believed that there was no problem that magic could not solve. At this time, Netheril was under attack by the Farim, terrifying creatures from beneath the earth that drained magic and life. The war was going poorly. Karsus, in his arrogance and his desperation to save his people, devised a spell. A spell of such complexity that it required components like the heart of a Tarask and the pituitary gland of a gold dragon. He called it Karsus's avatar. It was a spell of the 12th level. In modern Dungeons and Dragons rules, mortals are generally capped at the 9th level. The gods banned anything higher specifically because of what Karsus did. The purpose of Karsus's avatar was to steal the power of a deity. Karsus intended to permanently fuse himself with a god, taking their portfolio and their power to end the war instantly. He chose Mistral, the then goddess of magic. It was a calculation of hubris. He believed that because he understood the math of magic, he could understand the burden of being magic itself. When he cast the spell, the universe screamed. He succeeded. For a single, terrifying heartbeat, Karsus became the god of magic. But he instantly realized his mistake. To be the god of magic is to tend to the weave, to repair the tears, to manage the flow of energy across the entire crystal sphere of the world. It requires an omniscience and a durability that a mortal mind simply does not possess. The influx of infinite power shattered his mind. The weave began to unravel. Magic across the world fluctuated wildly. Spells failed. Artifacts exploded. Mistral, the goddess he had usurped, made the ultimate sacrifice. To save the weave from total destruction, she killed herself. She severed the connection. When the goddess of magic died, magic stopped working. This was the moment of the fall. The floating cities of Netheril, held aloft by high magic, simply stopped flying. Millions of people plummeted from the stratosphere. The greatest civilization Toril had ever seen was reduced to craters and rubble in a matter of seconds. The enclave of Karsus fell into the high forest, creating the directory of the fallen. Karsus died, petrified, his soul bound to a bleeding stone, forever aware of his folly. But the crown survived. The crown of Karsus was the physical focusing component for that 12th level spell. It is a circlet of Netheri's iron, set with 3 stones that represent the 3 schools of magic Karsus sought to master: dominion, foresight, and destruction. These are the nether stones. After the fall, the crown was lost. It was too dangerous for mortals, too radioactive with Karsite weave, a corrupted form of magic that hungers. It eventually found its way into the vault of Mephistopheles, the archdevil of Cania. Mephistopheles is a scholar. He knew what the crown was. He knew that if he put it on, he might suffer the same fate as Karsus. So he kept it. He studied it. He left it on a shelf, a loaded gun waiting for a child to pick it up. That child was in Gortash, accompanied by the Dark Urge. When they stole the crown, they brought this apocalyptic technology back into play, but they did something Karsus never thought to do. They didn't put it on a human. They put it on an elder brain. This is the genius and the insanity of the plot. An elder brain is a creature of pure psionic intellect. It does not have a soul to burn out in the same way a human does. It possesses a multi-layered consciousness capable of processing millions of thoughts simultaneously. The brain could handle the bandwidth of the crown in a way Karsus could not. The crown infused the brain with Karsite weave. This is why the Absolute's power cannot be blocked by normal means, except by the specific frequency of Orpheus. It is why the tadpoles do not follow the rules of biology. The magic of the crown is high magic, operating on a frequency that predates the current rules of the universe. It dominates. It consumes. This brings us to Gale of Waterdeep. Gale Decarios is the narrative echo of Karsus. He is the mirror held up to the past. Like Karsus, Gale was a prodigy. Like Karsus, he was arrogant. He was not just a devotee of Mystra, the reincarnation of Mistral, he was her lover. He walked in her divine realm. He saw the inner workings of the cosmos. But it wasn't enough. Gale felt he needed to prove he was worthy of her love, not just as a mortal, but as an equal. He found a tome of Netheri's magic. He found a piece of the weave that had been torn away during Karsus's folly, the Netheri's orb. He thought he could return it to Mystra. Instead, the orb entered his chest. The orb in Gale's chest is a fragment of the Karsite weave. It is a black hole of magic. It eats the weave. Throughout the game, Gale must consume magical items to satiate it. If he doesn't, the orb will destabilize and detonate with the force of a nuclear warhead, leveling a city the size of Waterdeep. This explains Mystra's seemingly cold behavior toward Gale. She is not just a spurned lover. She is the goddess of magic who remembers, literally remembers, as she possesses the memories of her predecessor, what Karsus did. She looks at Gale, and she sees the folly repeating itself. When she instructs Gale to blow himself up to destroy the elder brain, it is a ruthless calculation. She sees two threats, the brain wearing the crown and the Karsite orb inside Gale. By having Gale detonate the orb near the brain, she neutralizes both remnants of Netheril in one stroke. It is the trolley problem on a divine scale, but the crown tempts Gale. Throughout the journey, as he learns more about the crown of Karsus, his ambition reawakens. He begins to think, maybe I can control it. Karsus failed, but Karsus didn't have the orb. Maybe the orb and the crown can cancel each other out. Maybe I can become a god. This is the seduction of the Karsite weave. It whispers that this time will be different. It appeals to the ego. The crown itself acts as the binding agent for the plot. It is what forces the elder brain to obey the dead three. The three netherstones, Orin's dagger, Gortash's gauntlet, and Ketheric's armor piece, are the remote controls, but the crown is the receiver. When the brain evolves into the nether brain, it is because it has finally understood the crown. It has learned to interface with the high magic. The brain stops being a slave to the crown and becomes its partner. It calculates the grand design not just as biological assimilation, but as magical domination. the visual of the Netherbrain is terrifying. A gigantic brain floating in the sky, wearing a crown of spikes and purple energy. It is the resurrection of the floating cities of Netheril. But this time, the city is a monster. If you examine the crown closely in the final cutscenes, you can see the runes etched into it. They are sharp, angular. They speak of dominion. This is not a defensive item. It is an aggressive assertion of will upon reality. The Karsite weave is violet, unlike the blue-white of the normal weave. It feels oily, heavy. When you are near the crown, your characters feel a pressure in their temples. This is the weight of a magic that was never meant to exist. The secret reveal here is that the entire crisis is a man-made disaster. The mind flayers are the vehicle, but the engine is human ambition. Karsus broke the world 3,000 years ago, and we are still walking through the wreckage. The story of the crown serves as a warning about the pursuit of knowledge without wisdom. Gale's arc is the test of this warning. Can he learn from history? Or will he try to pick up the crown from the river of time, convinced that his hands are steady enough to hold it? If Gale takes the crown at the end of the game, he attempts to ascend. He challenges Mystra, and the ending is ambiguous. We do not see him rule. We see him disappear into the flash of conflict, based on the epilogue where he appears as a god of ambition. We can infer that he succeeds in ascending, but he becomes a deity of pure ego, forever fighting for more, alienated from his humanity. But if he surrenders it, if he gives it to Mystra, she takes it into the weave and dissolves it. She finally cleans up the mess that killed her predecessor. As we stand in the shadow of this ancient history, we realize that the physical enemies, the goblins, the cultists, the Steel Watchers, are just symptoms. The true disease is the crown. It is the ultimate amplifier of intent. In the hands of a tyrant, it brings tyranny. In the hands of a monster, it brings monstrous change. Now, we must look to the one being who has been watching all of this with a dry, dusty amusement. The one who has been in your camp since the beginning, sleeping in his sarcophagus, reviving your allies for a paltry sum of gold. He claims to be a humble scribe, but he knows too much. He speaks with the authority of the grave. We must pull back the hood of withers and look into the golden eyes of the original god of death. We must speak of Jurgle. Let the fires of the hells and the cold stone of moonrise fade from your mind. Return to the safety of your camp. Listen to the crackle of the campfire, the distant sound of the river, the soft breathing of your sleeping companions. Walk to the edge of the light, where the shadows lengthen and the air grows still. There, standing by a ruined shrine, or perhaps simply gazing into the middle distance, stands a figure wrapped in heavy, dusty robes. He is Withers. To the casual observer, he appears to be a lick or an undead servitor. His skin is desiccated, clinging to bone like old parchment. His face is a mask of gold and dried flesh. He speaks in a cadence that is archaic, measured, and utterly devoid of urgency. He does not breathe. He does not blink. When you ask him a question, his answer is often a single, resonant word. No acts as a complete sentence for him. He is the vendor of resurrection. He is the respecializer of classes. He is the camp follower who judges your romantic choices with a dry, "Thou walkest alone." But the secret reveal, the one that recontextualizes the entire cosmology of Baldur's Gate 3, is that this dry, sarcastic skeleton is arguably the most powerful entity in the entire game. He is not a servant. He is Jurgle, the Lord of the end of everything. He is the original god of death, murder, and strife. He is the one who sat on the throne before the dead three were even born. To understand why he is here, sleeping in a damp crypt in Act 1, and following you like a lost puppy, we must look at the divine compromise. Eons ago, Jurgle grew tired. Being the absolute master of death is a tedious job. It involves paperwork, judgment, and an eternity of listening to the pleas of the dying. When Bane, Baal, and Miakul, the Dark Three, came to him seeking his power, he didn't fight them. He was relieved. He stepped down. He gave them his portfolios. He divided his crown among them and agreed to serve as their seneschal, the scribe of the dead, recording the names of those they claimed. He effectively retired and let the interns run the company. But the interns, Bane, Baal, and Miakul, are incompetent. This is the driving motivation of Withers in Baldur's Gate 3. He is not here to save the world because he cares about goodness or light in the way a paladin does. He is here because the dead three have violated the fundamental laws of the cosmos, and he has been awakened to fix the accounting error. The error is the tadpole. We touched on this earlier, but let us delve into the metaphysics of it. In the Forgotten Realms, the economy of the gods is built on souls. When a mortal dies, their soul goes to the fugue plane, travels to the city of judgment, and is eventually claimed by the god they worshipped. This flow of souls is what keeps the gods powerful and the universe stable. Withers explicitly states the problem in a rare moment of candor. Illithids possess no souls. Now, to be scholarly about this, in broader D&D lore, mind flayers do have a specific type of alien spirit, but it is incompatible with the Taural pantheon. It does not go to the fugue plane. It returns to the elder brain or dissolves. Therefore, when the cult of the Absolute transforms a faithful worshipper of Lathander or Tyr into a mind flayer, that soul is effectively deleted from the system. It does not go to the afterlife. It ceases to exist in a way that benefits the gods. The dead three, in their arrogance, are not just conquering the world, they are starving the pantheon. By using the apostolic souls to fuel the absolute, they are hoarding the spiritual currency of the realms, and then burning it in a furnace of far realm psionics. Jurgle cannot abide this. It is bad bookkeeping. Throughout the game, if you are observant, specifically if you are playing a paladin or a cleric with high religion, you can spot the clues of his identity. In the dank crypt where you find him, there is a statue of Jurgle. The scribe in the mausoleum of Ketheric Thorm mentions him. When you ask him what he is, he deflects. but notice his abilities. When he resurrects a companion, he does not cast a spell in the traditional sense. He does not pray to a deity. He simply speaks. "Strike the name from the archives," he seems to say. He is editing the book of the dead in real time. He is overruling the finality of death because he wrote the rules of death. His presence in your camp is a divine intervention allowed by the cryptic rules of Ao, the Overgod. He cannot fight the Elder Brain for you. That would be a violation of the compact that forbids gods from direct warfare, but he can ensure that your party, the champions of balance, do not stay dead. He provides the logistical support necessary for mortals to clean up a god-sized mess. Consider his interaction with the dark urge. This is the most definitive proof of his nature and his power. In the climax of the dark urge's personal quest, if you choose to refuse Baal, the god of murder is furious. Baal strikes you dead. He reclaims the blood he lent you. You die. The screen goes black. Then Withers appears in the void. He speaks to you not as a corpse, but as a peer. He narrates your resurrection. He tells you that while Baal's blood is gone, you remain. He constructs a new soul for you. Or perhaps he retrieves the spark of your true self that was buried under the urge. Live, he commands, and you do. No ordinary lick, no 20th level wizard, no cleric of Lathander could do that. To look at a direct murder by a god and say veto requires a being of equal or greater standing. Jurgel is that being. He looks at Baal, the upstart he gave power to, and effectively says, "You did it wrong." Withers also shows a surprising depth of character in his interactions with Arabella, the tiefling child. If her parents die, Withers allows her to stay in camp. He allows her to touch the weave. He mentors her in his own strange way. When she leaves, he says, the wheel turns. He sees the threads of fate that others miss. He is not cruel. He is simply vast. His perspective is geological. To him, the crisis of the absolute is a momentary blip in a history he has been writing for eternity. He is the dungeon master's avatar within the game. He provides the mechanic resurrection/respect, but justifies it with deep lore. He is the failsafe. And then there is the post-credit scene. If you finish the game after the celebrations, after the goodbyes, the camera pans to a desolate, stony place, the Fugue Plain. There, looking at a mural of the dead three, stands Withers. He speaks directly to them. He mocks them. "Didst thou think I would not notice?" he asks. "Didst thou think the other gods would not notice?" He calls them vermin. He confirms that their plan was foolish from the start because it relied on destroying the very souls they needed to rule. "Thou art dead," he says, with a finality that sends shivers down the spine. "And I am content." This scene confirms that the dead three have lost more than just the battle for Baldur's Gate. They have lost their standing. They tried to cheat the system, and the system, personified by Jurgel, walked out of the office, picked up a sword and cut them down. Withers represents the inevitable correction of the universe. He is the concept that order will eventually reassert itself over chaos. The absolute was an aberration. Withers is the norm. His role forces us to re-examine the concept of divinity in the game. The gods you fight, Miakul, Bane, Baal, are desperate, screaming, grasping things. They are insecure. Withers is silent, calm, and helpful. He helps you respect your stats, not because he needs your gold. He literally holds all the money you give him, and you can pickpocket it back without him caring. But because he needs you to be efficient, fate spins along as it should. He is the ultimate observer, and his judgment of the party is the only one that truly matters in the cosmic sense. There is a beautiful irony that the most terrifying being in the lore, the ancient god of death, is the most helpful NPC in the game. He is the grandfather who has seen it all, sighing as he watches his grandchildren set the kitchen on fire, handing them the fire extinguisher because he knows they haven't learned how to use the stove yet. As we conclude our look at the scribe, we realize that the victory against the elder brain was not just a victory of steel and spell. It was a victory of bureaucracy. The paperwork of the universe had to be balanced, and you were the quill, but the quill is held by many hands. We have spoken of the gods, the villains, and the ancient powers. Now, we must look at the hands that fought beside you, the companions. Specifically, we must look at the two whose stories are most deeply entwined with the secret lore of the setting, Shadowheart and Astarion. Their personal quests are not side stories. They are reflections of the main themes of domination and freedom. We must explore the conditioning of the Sharon cloister and the blood politics of the vampire courts. We must speak of the companions' burdens. The gods play their games with souls, and the dead scribe balances his books. But while the cosmic entities move chess pieces across the board of Toril, it is the pawns who bleed. It is the pawns who weep. We have spoken at length about the villains and the architects. Now, we must turn our eyes to the campfire. Look at the faces of those who travel with you. They are not merely combat units or sources of witty banter. They are walking, breathing repositories of trauma, each one a mirror reflecting a different facet of the game's central theme: domination versus autonomy. Among your companions, two stand out as having the deepest, most intricate ties to the secret lore of the setting. Two who were not just victimized by the absolute, but by institutions of control that predate the plot by centuries. We speak of the cleric of Shar, Shadowheart, and the vampire spawn, Astarion. Let us begin with the darkness. Let us step into the cloister of somber embrace. Shadowheart is a puzzle box. From the moment you meet her on the Nautiloid, she is defined by her secrets. She holds the astral prism, the key to the entire story. She worships Shar, the Lady of Loss, a goddess who demands the surrender of memory. She suffers from a mysterious, incurious wound on her hand that flares with agonizing pain whenever she strays from her path or the influence of Selûne draws near. The secret reveal of Shadowheart's story is a masterclass in gaslighting. For the first 2 acts of the game, Shadowheart believes she is a Sharon orphan, She believes she was saved from the streets by the Mother Superior. She believes her dream is to become a dark justiciar, to spill the blood of a Selûnite and earn her place in the lady's favor. She tells you of a memory, being chased by wolves and being saved by Sharons. But if you look at the environmental storytelling, the fear of wolves, the strange flashbacks of a moonlit forest, the truth begins to bleed through. Shadowheart is not a Sharon. She is a Selûnite. Her true name is Genevieve Hallowleaf. The tragedy of her existence is orchestrated by a figure known as the Mother Superior. To veterans of the Baldur's Gate saga, the reveal of the Mother Superior's identity is a shock that ripples through decades of lore. She is Viconia de Ver. Viconia was a companion in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. She was a drow exile, a cleric of Shar who, despite her harsh goddess, could be romanced, could be redeemed, and could find a measure of peace. Seeing her here, in Baldur's Gate 3, as a twisted, abusive matriarch of a suicide cult, is a harrowing evolution. It suggests that in the canonical timeline followed by Larian Studios, Viconia did not find redemption. She fell deep into the darkness of loss. She became the monster the surface world always accused her of being. Viconia kidnapped Genevieve as a child. The wolf in Shadowheart's memory was not a wild beast. It was Viconia's lycanthrope minions hunting her down. Viconia captured Genevieve's parents. She imprisoned them in the deepest chamber of the House of Grief. For 40 years, Viconia tortured Genevieve. She used the Mirror of Loss to strip away Genevieve's memories of her parents, then reintroduced them, only to make Genevieve torture them herself. Then, she wiped the memory again. It was a cycle of infinite cruelty designed to prove a theological point, that even the purest light can be broken into darkness. The mysterious wound on Shadowheart's hand is not a divine mark. It is a curse. It is a Pavlovian leash. Viconia and the Sharon magic conditioned Genevieve to feel agonizing pain whenever the good part of her, the Selûnite part, tried to surface. It is a physical manifestation of abuse. When you enter the House of Grief in Act 3, you are entering the site of this indoctrination. The mapping of the heart room, with its stone slabs and tools of interrogation, tells the story of how Shadowheart was hollowed out. The ultimate choice Shadowheart faces: to kill her parents to free them from the curse, or to save them and live with the curse, is a subversion of the chosen one trope. She is not chosen for glory. She is chosen for suffering. If she rejects Shar, if she throws the spear of night into the abyss of the Shadowfell, she begins to reclaim her name, Genevieve. Her hair turns white, symbolizing the light of the moon. But the tragedy remains. Her parents, even if saved, are broken. They are old, tired, and dying. The time lost cannot be regained. This is the true loss that Shar inadvertently teaches, the realization that some things are gone forever, and all you can do is survive. Now let us shift from the psychological prison of the Sharons to the physical prison of the Shar family. Let us speak of blood, hunger, and Astarion. If Shadowheart represents the loss of the mind, Astarion represents the loss of the body. He is a vampire spawn, enslaved for 200 years by Cazador Shar. Cazador is a villain of intimate terror. While the dead three want to rule the world, Cazador just wants to rule his house. He is a petty, sadistic tyrant who revels in the absolute domination of his children. He forces them to eat rats. He buries them alive for disobedience. He flays them for poetry. The lore reveal centered around Astarion concerns the scars on his back. Throughout the game, Astarion knows he has a poem carved into his flesh, but he cannot read it. He cannot see his own reflection, and he cannot read the infernal script. When Raphael, the devil, translates the scars, we learn the terrifying truth. It is not just a mark of ownership. It is a contract. Cazador is attempting the rite of profane ascension. This ritual is not standard vampiric lore. It is a deal made with, you guessed it, Mephistopheles. We keep coming back to Mephistopheles, don't we? The archdevil of Cania is the silent investor behind almost every catastrophe in this game. He held the crown of Karsus. He crafted the rite of profane ascension. The rite requires 7,000 souls, specifically 7,000 vampire spawn. Cazador has been forcing Astarion and his siblings to bring victims back to the palace for centuries, not to feed on them, but to stockpile them, those 7,000 victims. The cattle are trapped in the dungeon beneath the Shar Palace. They are starving, feral, trapped in eternal darkness. Among them are the children Astarion lured away, thinking he was saving them or simply feeding his master, the Gur children. The rite transforms a vampire into a vampire ascendant. This being has all the powers of a vampire, but none of the weaknesses. They can walk in the sun. They do not need an invitation to enter a home. They do not need to sleep. Their bite acts as a necrotic nuke. Essentially, they become a god of blood. Astarion's arc is a desperate clawing for safety. He believes that if he completes the ritual, if he takes Cazador's place, he will finally be safe. The only way to be safe is to be the most dangerous thing in the room, he thinks. But the secret horror of the ascended path is that Astarion does not become free. He becomes Cazador. If you allow Astarion to ascend, watch his demeanor. His voice drops. He becomes possessive. He begins to view you, his partner, as a pet. He speaks of us ruling the world, but he means him ruling you. The cycle of abuse completes a perfect circle. The victim becomes the abuser. He gains the world, but loses his soul, quite literally, as the ritual consumes the humanity he had left. However, the alternative path, the path of the spawn, offers a different kind of reveal. If Astarion rejects the ritual, if he kills Cazador but refuses to sacrifice the 7,000 souls, he remains a spawn. He will burn in the sun if the tadpole is removed. He will be weak, but he will be free. The scene where Astarion stabs Cazador to death is visceral. It is not a glorious combat finisher. It is a breakdown. He screams. He weeps. He stabs the corpse over and over again, purging 2 centuries of fear. It is one of the most raw depictions of trauma release in gaming history. The decision regarding the 7,000 spawn in the dungeon is a moral nightmare. Do you release 7,000 hungry vampires into the Underdark, or do you kill them all to prevent a massacre? There is no good answer. It is a burden Astarion must carry. Both Shadowheart and Astarion serve as thematic foils to the Absolute. The Absolute offers a removal of burden. Submit, it says. Let the hive mind decide. Be happy in your slavery. Shadowheart and Astarion show us the cost of that submission. They show us that freedom is messy. Freedom is painful. Freedom means remembering the parents you forgot. Freedom means living in the shadows because the sun burns you. But it is yours. The companion's burdens are the emotional anchor of the game. Without them, the fight against the brain is just a tactical exercise. With them, it is a fight for the right to be broken, flawed, and individual. As we leave the personal tragedies of our friends, we must look up. The sky over Baldur's Gate is darkening. The nautiloids are gathering. The crown of Karsus is pulsing with a rhythm that shakes the foundations of the city. The elder brain has finished its calculations. It has played the chosen. It has played the emperor. It has waited for this exact moment to reveal its true face. We are entering the endgame. The secrets are all out in the open now. All that remains is the gambit. The grand design is entering its final phase, and the brain is no longer asking for permission. We must ascend the brain stem. We must step into the psychic storm. We must confront the nether brain. We have arrived at the precipice. The journey that began in a mucid pod on a burning ship, that wound through the druidic groves, the shadow-cursed lands, and the bustling streets of the lower city, ends here. We stand atop the high hall of Baldur's Gate. The sky is no longer blue. It is a bruised purple, torn open by the tentacles of the astral plane. Nautiloids scream through the clouds like sharks in a feeding frenzy, and hovering above it all, dwarfing the tallest spires of the city, is the nether brain. This is the final secret, the ultimate reveal of Baldur's Gate 3. Throughout the entire narrative, we were led to believe that the elder brain was a victim, a slave, a tool wielded by the dead three to enforce their will. We believed that if we could just get the nether stones, if we could just kill the chosen, the brain would be helpless. We were wrong. The elder brain was not a prisoner. It was a student, and the crown of Karsus was its teacher. Let us dissect the gambit of the brain. Elder brains are beings of immense, alien intelligence. They do not think in linear time. They think in probabilities, in multidimensional outcomes. When Gortash, Orin, and Ketheric enslaved the brain, they used the crown to force it into submission. But they made a fatal error. They introduced a creature of pure psionic potential to the Karsite weave, a magic defined by ambition and rule-breaking. The brain did not just suffer under the crown. It interfaced with it. It learned the high magic of ancient Netheril. It evolved. The secret reveal is that the brain allowed itself to be controlled. It calculated that the dead three were incompetent. It saw that their alliance was fragile. It knew that Gortash was paranoid, Orin was chaotic, and Ketheric was weary. The brain realized that if it fought them immediately, it might be destroyed. But if it waited, if it played the part of the obedient slave, it could manipulate them into bringing the Netherstones right to it. Consider the events of the game. Who sent the dream to the Dark Urge? Who allowed the Emperor to slip the leash just enough to create a rogue element? The brain claims it orchestrated everything. It calls this the grand design. The grand design is the ultimate goal of the Illithid Empire. It is not just about eating brains. It is about the Great Darkening. The Illithids seek to extinguish the sun. They seek to restore the dominion they held eons ago, where all realities are subsumed into the hive mind. When you confront the brain at the Morphic Pool before the final battle, the facade drops. Gortash tries to command it with his stone. The brain laughs. Imagine the horror of that moment. A giant, disembodied brain laughing. It tells you that it calculated the exact probability of your arrival. It tells you that every choice you made, every villain you killed, every ally you saved, was a variable in its equation. You were the delivery system for the Netherstones. By killing the Chosen, you did not weaken the brain, you freed it. You removed the three people holding the leash, and then you brought the leash, the stones, into its immediate proximity. The entity that rises into the sky is no longer an elder brain. It is a nether brain. Lore-wise, this is a terrifying concept. It is a fusion of far realm biology and Netherese high magic. It is a god in all but name. It has the power to issue a psionic command that covers the entire Sword Coast. In the final hour of the game, the Order of the Absolute activates. This is not a cult uprising. It is mass ceremorphosis. Across the city, people fall to their knees. The tadpoles in their heads dormant for so long wake up. Civilians, guards, nobles, they scream as their bones rearrange, as their skin splits. Within moments, the city is flooded with mind flares. This is the apocalypse. This is what you were fighting to stop, and it happens anyway because the brain willed it. The climb to the High Hall is the narrative climax. You are not fighting for loot or glory anymore. You are fighting for survival. You are joined by the allies you gathered. This is the payoff for your kindness. If you saved the Tieflings, they are there. If you helped the Iron Hand gnomes, they are there. If you spared the strange ox, well, even he is there. It is a moment of pure cinematic chaos. But the true battle happens when you reach the brain itself. To defeat the nether brain, you must do the impossible. You must use the nether stones to dominate it. This requires a mind flayer. This is why the choice regarding Orpheus or the Emperor is so critical. Only a mind that understands the psionic calculus of the Illithid can wield the stones against the supreme Illithid. The final boss fight takes place atop the brain. You are running across the gray matter of a godlike entity. while it calls down airstrikes of magic from the crown. The environment itself is the enemy. The brain tries to detach the platform you are standing on. It tries to erase you from existence using orbs of negation. And if you enter the portal, if you go inside the psyche of the brain, you find yourself in a realm of pure thought. The brain's avatar stands there, a manifestation of its will. It begs, it bargains, it threatens. It realizes that despite all its calculations, it failed to account for one variable, the sheer, stubborn, chaotic will of a party of adventurers. This brings us to the final choice, the ultimate secret of the heart. When the brain is subdued, when it lies broken before you, the game asks you one question: what will you do with absolute power? The heroic ending is the destruction of the brain. You order the brain to kill itself. You order it to destroy the tadpoles. The massive structure collapses into the river Shanthar. The sun comes out. The screaming stops. The citizens of Baldur's Gate, dazed and traumatized, look up to see the nightmare ending. But there is another ending, the absolute ending. In this ending, you betray your allies. You stab the Emperor or Orpheus in the back. You seize the stones for yourself. You look at the brain, and you do not see a monster. You see a throne. You sit upon the brain. You command it. In my name, you say. The camera pans out. You see your companions, Astarion, Shadowheart, Liesel, their eyes glowing purple. They bow. They are thralls. You see the city below, the fires extinguishing not because of peace, but because of order. The order of the absolute. You have become what you fought. You are the new god of tyranny, the new lord of murder, the new general of the dead. It is a chilling conclusion that validates the cynicism of the Dead Three. They believed power was for taking. If you take it, you prove them right. But let us assume you choose the light. Let us assume you destroy the brain. The epilogue, added in recent updates to the game, provides the gentle exhale after the scream. 6 months later, Withers gathers the survivors for a reunion. We see the city rebuilding. We see Karlach, if she returned to Avernus with Will, finding a blueprint for a cure. We see Liesel leading the rebellion against Vlaakith. We see Astarion finding a new purpose in the shadows, or perhaps ruling the vampire spawn in the Underdark. But the lingering thought, the secret that stays with us as the screen fades to black, is the fragility of it all. We have learned that the gods are petty. We have learned that history is a lie written by the victors. We have learned that the greatest city in the world was built by a mind flayer and saved by a monster. We have learned that within every person there is a tadpole. Not a literal one, perhaps, but a potential for darkness. A dark urge. A whisper that says, take what you want. The story of Baldur's Gate 3 is not just a story about dungeons and dragons. It is a story about the struggle to remain yourself in a world that wants to turn you into a cog in a machine. It is a story about looking into the mirror, seeing the monster, and choosing to be the man. The lore runs deep, from the floating cities of Netheril to the blood-soaked pits of Baal, from the astral sea to the hells of Cania. We have walked it all. We have connected the threads. We have seen the tapestry. Forgive me, we have seen the picture in its entirety. The brain is dead. The dead three are silent. The dice have stopped rolling. Take a deep breath. Listen to the rain against the window. The danger has passed. You are safe here. Thank you for walking this long, dark road with me. We have uncovered the secrets of the Sword Coast, one layer at a time. I hope this deep dive has given you a new appreciation for the incredible depth of this world. If you enjoyed this journey into the lore, and if you found peace in the recounting of these dark tales, please consider clicking the like button. It helps the channel more than you know. And if you wish to join us for the next adventure, for the next dive into the unknown history of the realms, please subscribe. Until next time, sleep well, and may your rolls be high. Good night.